You can argue that Kevin Durant is the most talented basketball player of all time. With a combination of height and skill, he's arguably the most unique player we've seen in basketball history. However, that is not how we view Kevin Durant today. Thanks to NBA media, we will never fully appreciate how great of a player KD really is. In the eyes of the media, he's just a sensitive superstar looking for attention. The official definition of the word legacy is a long-lasting impact of particular events and actions that took place in the past or in a person's life. A long-lasting impact. That's the part that most sports fans live by. In the NBA, your legacy isn't determined by how great of a player you are. No, it's determined by how many championships you have won. We all know the old LeBron versus Jordan debate where LeBron has 4 rings and Jordan has 6 rings. They're arguably the 2 greatest players to ever play this game, and most of the conversation always comes down to rings. Because rings are the most important thing you can have as an NBA player. And they will always matter. They always have, and they always will. And Kevin Durant is no different than all of us. He is well aware that his rings matter when it comes to his legacy. When you look at KD's resume, it's extremely impressive. 2 NBA championships, 2 finals MVPs, a rookie of the year, a regular season MVP, 10 all-NBA selections, 13 all-NBA appearances, and a grocery list of other accolades. He's arguably a top 10 player of all time and a guaranteed first ballot Hall of Famer. His legacy should be cemented forever as one of the greatest players to ever play the game of basketball. But it's not. In fact, some people look at Kevin Durant and he's not even in their top 15 players of all time, which is absolutely crazy. If you don't have him in your top 15, you are just a hater. As the people that are like that don't have him in the top 15, they say some of his accolades are illegitimate and that they don't actually contribute to his legacy. If anything, it hurts his legacy. Where does this all come from? Why is one of the most talented players of our generation not respected as much as his peers as Bron, Jordan, Kobe, Duncan, Curry? That's because there's one guy we can blame for all of this happening and why Kevin Durant's legacy is quite frankly tarnished in the eyes of a lot of NBA fans. His name is Stephen A. Smith. Now, Stephen A. Smith is not another NBA player. He's not Kevin Durant's arch rival or any of that. None of that. Actually, in fact, he's never played an NBA game for his life. Most of the time you know Stephen A. Smith because he has a suit and tie on and he sits on ESPN's First Take. Stephen A. is a media personality and I'm not going to give him the sole blame for ruining Kevin Durant's legacy, but he has definitely spearheaded the talks of Kevin Durant not being as great as many of us would have him. Long story short, Stephen A. Smith is on a popular show First Take, which was created back in 2012 with him and his co-host Skip Bayless. They reshaped what NBA media was. They took away the traditional form of sports journalism, which was covering sports in an unbiased view of the game, to a more biased, opinionated, and narrative-driven talk on the game of basketball. And they started what I like to call the hot take era, which basically meant that I can hop on television and say crazier things than you and crazier things than you, and I will get more clicks because of that. Which is why if you have been watching First Take for the last 5 to 10 years, you will notice that LeBron versus Jordan is the conversation almost every other day on these sports talk shows. I literally can't make this up. Let me give you a brief summary. Shannon Sharpe was on a show with Skip Bayless called Undisputed. Shannon left that show and joined Stephen A. Smith over at First Take, which is a different network. Great, you're following me, right? Everyone's very excited to see these two go head to head. Guess what was one of the first things they argued about? It wasn't Damian Lillard. It wasn't James Harden. It wasn't about the Denver Nuggets possibly repeating. No, it was about LeBron versus Jordan. The good old GOAT debate. And that's NBA media for you. It has turned the game of basketball into a competition of who has a better legacy, not who was the better player on the court. Outside of LeBron and Jordan, no other superstar has been more criticized than Kevin Durant when it comes to their legacy. He's been labeled sensitive, toxic, controlling, and a bunch of other things I can't say in a YouTube video. Rarely do you tune into these shows and you see them talking about how good of a game Kevin Durant had or how bad of a game he had. No. It's always about what he's doing on Twitter or what team he is looking to join next. It has now become a trend to attack Kevin Durant on sports media. If you stop and search Kevin Durant on YouTube right now, you'll see a bunch of videos saying the sad truth about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, the great loser. How Kevin Durant tarnished his legacy and destroyed the Brooklyn Nets. And most of these videos here are there to absolutely destroy Kevin Durant's legacy, criticizing him for his move to the Golden State Warriors are the Brooklyn Nets. And that's not what I'm here to do today. Just so y'all know. If you've watched this far, I'm not here to just talk about those. Okay. However, these YouTube videos are merely a side effect to the damage mainstream media has done to Kevin Durant's legacy. It all started back in 2016 when Kevin Durant decided to move to the Golden State Warriors, and Stephen A labeled it the weakest move he has ever seen by an NBA superstar.
Well, I'm viewing it as the weakest move I've ever seen from a superstar, plain and simple.
The Warriors were coming off a season where they broke the NBA regular season record for wins in a year. To add on to that, KD and his Oklahoma City Thunder recently lost to the Warriors in the conference finals after blowing a 3-1 lead. So naturally, KD thought to himself, well, what's that thing they always say? If you can't beat them, join them. And that's exactly what he did. He signed it with Golden State Warriors in that offseason, and everyone, and I mean everyone, was outraged. And it was very good reason for people to be upset. Not only did he join a team that just beat him, KD and Russell Westbrook just came off an historic year in the 2015-2016 season. In fact, they combined for 3,907 points, 1,215 rebounds, and 1,197 assists, which is something that no NBA duo has ever done in NBA history. They were literally breaking records. KD never saw this move as anything bad, as he just wanted to hoop with the best players he could. At the time, that was the Golden State Warriors. KD is a smart man. He knew that not only would this move be a great basketball move, well, he could win championships and that it would help his legacy just a little bit if he got 1, 2, maybe 3 NBA championships. And that's what he thought, and well, it didn't happen that way. The media took the 2 rings that he did win with the Golden State Warriors and basically told him, we get it, you won, but we're not going to count those because you didn't win them on your own. You won it with Stephen Curry. Maybe this factored into his move, but he left the Golden State Warriors and went to the Brooklyn Nets, forming his own super team with Kyrie Irving and James Harden. His Nets team was completely stacked and looked like title favorites when they first came together. But due to injury and Kevin Durant wearing a size 19 shoe, they failed and only played in 16 games together before all splitting up and going their different ways. This was an absolute failure of a team, and it only fueled the anti-KD hate on sports media. It got so bad that we saw former NBA star Charles Barkley talking bad about Kevin Durant on national television.
You guys always talk about that championship stuff. I try to tell y'all, all these bus riders, they don't mean nothing to me. If you ain't driving the bus, don't walk around talking about you're a champion. If you riding the bus, I don't want to hear it.
Barkley is not the first TV personality to claim that Kevin Durant is not a true champion because of the fact that he's been surrounded by great talent. He had Westbrook and Harden in OKC. He had Curry, Klay, and Draymond in Golden State. He had Kyrie and Harden in Brooklyn. And now he has Booker, Beal, and Phoenix. Kevin Durant has always been surrounded by great talent. And because of that, the narrative that KD needs to be around other great talents to win has only escalated since she has joined the Phoenix Suns. Every day on Twitter, you will see NBA fans arguing about, is Kevin Durant a top 5 player or not? The argument stems from the fact that he's one of the most gifted scorers we have ever seen in the game, and arguably the most unique type of player we have seen also. But in the legacy department is where he's lacking in the eyes of a lot of NBA fans. This led to a Twitter Spaces hosted by NBA YouTuber Legend of Winning, titled Kevin Durant is not top 5, which is actually a normal thing to see on Twitter during the season, but this time was a little bit different because KD himself, the guy they're talking about, decided to join the Spaces and defend himself.
I just think how y'all even look at the game is whack. Playoff success, like you factor in team success when you talking about players. I just think how y'all consume the game is trash. Like, are you good or not?
I agree.
I mean, some things could be that simple. Are you just good or not? I mean, a lot of people have seen it for a long time, brother. And it's okay. These lists don't really mean nothing anyway. So why are you getting so upset about them?
But this outlook on the game that KD despises is in direct response of how mainstream media has covered him his entire career. And what makes things worse is that mainstream media took this encounter with KD and a fan and made it into something even bigger. Now attacking the superstar's personality, calling him sensitive.
Why is he so sensitive?
It makes no sense, and you just said it. The guy's won 2 championships, 2 MVPs in the finals.
And instead of people thinking of him as the second best player in the league, he is officially the Masot.
What's that?
The most sensitive of all time. So he's the Masot.
As a guy who is worth over $300 million and is one of the best basketball players in the world, why would you be concerned about what some YouTuber or Twitter personalities have to say about your game? Which is a fair point. We never saw Kobe Bryant arguing with fans, or Jordan having debates with the media, or even LeBron, who gets attacked on a daily basis by one man. So why does KD? Because he's just like all of us. Kobe and Jordan had the luxury of not living through hot take era, which included sports debate shows and social media. And LeBron, well, he did have that one time where he basically told all his haters that they are living a terrible life.
Does it bother you that so many people are happy to see you fail?
Absolutely not. Because at the end of the day, all the people that was rooting on me to fail, at the end of the day, they got to wake up tomorrow and have the same life that they had before they woke up today.
But other than that, LeBron has never feuded with any fans on social media, and he has definitely never made a burner account, which is where a bunch of this KD sensitive talk actually stems from. After all the backlash on Twitter and the media on his move to the Golden State Warriors, KD wanted to defend himself, but he didn't want to look soft, so he created a burner account. And if you know anything about the internet, the number one rule about the internet, anything that you put online, they will always find it. No matter how secretive you really think you are, KD, the internet will always find you. And which the internet did. And on that burner, you would see Kevin Durant referring to himself in the third person and would speak on things that he didn't like in the Thunder organization, like Coach Billy Donovan. He also would mention that the roster wasn't strong enough to support him and Westbrook. And this was all fair criticism if you actually watched the Thunder when KD was there. Everything he was saying was absolutely true. But it was shocking to see a guy of this caliber saying this about his old team. But at the same time, this type of behavior is normal in internet culture. Whenever you post something online, I mean literally you could post anything online, you're going to get hateful comments from somebody saying something that they just don't like. The first thing you are to do when you see this criticism is immediately defend yourself. Immediately. It's immediately say, hey, you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about, this and that. And sometimes you even attack the person that is leaving these hateful comments. It's human nature. That's what we do. And Kevin Durant, at the end of the day, is human. Us as a species, we're defensive people, especially when someone is attacking the way we put food on the table. I know you have a coworker that you don't like. They might have said something about how you work bad or told your boss how you're lazy. You don't like them because of those things, because that's the way you eat. That's the way that you make money. When someone attacks you as a basketball player and that's the way you feed your family, of course you're going to be defensive. Of course, it's what we all would do. That's what Kevin Durant does. Anyone else that was in KD's shoes would do the exact same thing. Michael Jordan cared about his public perception more than any other player in NBA history, and yet he has never got this sensitive label. And Allen Iverson was known for ranting to the media every chance he could. But neither Jordan or Iverson has ever got the label sensitive like Kevin Durant has. And as fans, we have to ask ourselves, is this KD being sensitive, or is this just the modern world that we live in? Instead of going to the media after games and voicing their concerns, they go to Twitter, they go to their podcasts, they go to Twitch streams, and much, much more. The explosion of social media has fundamentally changed the way athletes interact with their fans and the media. They are no longer passive recipients of criticism, but can now engage directly to their audience. This new dynamic can lead to more visible reactions. It doesn't necessarily make a player more sensitive than the players of the 90s. It's merely a reflection of the changing times. KD's sensitivity has been blown out of proportion. Athletes, just like everyone else, have feelings and emotions. It's unreasonable to expect him to remain impervious to consistent criticism. KD's willingness to engage with fans and defend himself should not be seen as a weakness, but rather as a sign for his passion for the game of basketball and his desire to protect his legacy. And if we're being honest, what KD wants out of NBA media is similar to most fans. He is tired of basketball conversations being about who is better solely based on rings, or why this player is not great based on some of the decisions they made off the court. KD wants, like most NBA fans, conversations to be about who's a better player based on the actions on the court. Who can get a bucket when needed the most? Who can go guard the best player on the other team? Things that we debate when we talk about players with our friends. Not why KD is not a top 5 player because of his move to the Warriors was weak, and because of that, everything he does in that jersey is invalid. So even if he scores 100 points, has 100 rebounds, has 100 assists with 0 turnovers, it doesn't matter because he was in a Warriors jersey, so it's invalid. No! KD is a basketball fan, like all of us. He just wants the media to cover basketball and not the stories.